If not story structures, then what? This is, I suppose, something that a lot of people have been wondering ever since I decided to say, you know what? I don't like the way that storytelling is taught. I'm going to do away with all of it and approach it in a completely different way, which involves saying story structures, no. But I understand why people want story structures, but I think a small little shift in the perspective of what it is you want. And I think the one I'm going to say is going to make every single one of you go, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, fuck story structures. I think we don't need story structures because they're just recipes. Instead, I think we want life structures. What do I mean by that? I mean that there are certain ways that things play out in life. You punch someone in the face, for example, really obvious example. What's going to happen? You're going to get in some conflict. So that's just an example of how things tend to play out in a predictable way. The storm? Yeah. Oh, for fuck. What I think we want instead is life structures, and the universal life structures that we might find can be got from analysing stories and life itself. And I think that all of these story structures that have sort of like been derived from analysing stories have been thought of as sort of like recipes for stories. But I think the better approach is thinking of them as universal structures of life, how life plays out. And now you can look at it in a way that isn't like a recipe for stories, as though you're constructing things, but more like a good perspective on a very universal truth of life, that life plays out in these sorts of ways. That also means do away with components derived from sort of tokenizing stories. I reject the word character. That's my mindset now. I reject the word plot point. I reject character arc as a word because it's tokenizing stories as sort of like parts of an engine, where really life isn't made up of characters and plot points and character arcs. They're made up of people and personal events and scenarios and feelings and truths. And I think that it's just this little perspective shift that needs to be had.